Welcome back. Now, there's been a signing that's taken place today, but I'm all set up and I'm all dressed up. As he said in Braveheart, I didn't get dressed up for nothing. Hamish, remember? Anyways, we're going to talk about the Washington Capitals and their history today, and I thought, why not wear the Screaming Eagle? There's been talk about whether or not they might go back to that look at some point. It's not happening this season, but maybe soon. Maybe with the new manufacturer, that's when they decide, hey, we'll go back to that look. Anyways, if we're going to look at the all-time scoring leaders, of course, Ovechkin and Backstrom lead the way. Ovechkin, in 1,274 games played, has 780 goals. He will pass Gordie Howe this season, likely by the middle of the coming season. 630 assists, 1,410 points. So he's not that far from 1,500 career points. Absolutely remarkable first ballot Hall of Fame. Maybe he skips the wait time for the Hall of Fame. Ovechkin. Backstrom, 1,058 games played, 267 goals, 747 assists for 1,011 points. Now, with Backstrom, of course, he's coming off hip surgery, a hip surgery that usually ends careers. We'll see whether or not Backstrom bounces back from it better than other players who've had the same kind of surgery. Peter Bonder's third on the list, 961 games, 472 goals, 353 assists for him, for a grand total of 825 points. Mike Gartner, 758 games played, 397 goals, 392 assists, 789 points. Michael Pavanka, 825 games played, 181 goals, 418 assists, 599 points. That close to 600. John Carlson, 887 games played, 132 goals, 461 assists, 593 points. So he should pass Pavanka, I would think, by early November. Dale Hunter, 872 games, 181 goals, 375 assists, 556 points. Still the only player in NHL history with 300 goals and 3,000 penalty minutes, and nobody will ever get that again. Nobody's getting 3,000 penalty minutes with the way penalties are called now. Gustafson, 629 games and 195 goals, 359 assists for 554 points. Mike Ridley, 588 games, 218 goals, 329 assists, 547 points. And Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov should be up above Hunter by the end of this coming season. 599 games played, 153 goals, 343 assists, 496 points. So 61 points would put him ahead of Hunter. And then he'd be looking at Pavanka because Carlson should be ahead of Pavanka. But he's 103 points behind Pavanka. So I would think it would take a minimum of a season and a half for him to get that total. Your all-time wins leader for the Washington Capitals is Kolzig, 301. Holtby looked to be steamrolling at one point in time. And in the event that Holtby decides to retire, now it looks like he's going to take this year off. It would be a fascinating career video to do because his wins rate was fantastic. 282 as a Capital. Don Beaupre, 128. Jensen with 94. And Jim Carey and Pete Peters tied at fifth with 70 wins in the Washington net. Their retired numbers, number 7, Yvonne Labor was retired. Number 5, Rod Langway. Number 32, Dale Hunter was retired. Very divisive figure, and I understand. And, even in a recent career video about Dale Hunter ending somebody's career, I just, the toughness was there. I get the feeling that if I had watched Dale Hunter play every game the way that I watch hockey now, I would have liked him a lot less. That's my guess. I didn't see him that often. Mike Gartner, number 11. Honestly, Gartner, one of the best pure goal scorers and one of the best skaters I've ever seen in the National Hockey League. Now, we get into playoffs since 2000. There's been a lot. You'll notice the same teams knock them out regularly. 2000, they get knocked out in the first round by Pittsburgh. That was in 6. In 2001, in the first round, they lose to Pittsburgh, also in 6. So this is before the Ovechkin-Crosby era and Pittsburgh's owning Washington. 2003, they lost in the first round against Tampa. That was in 6. They didn't make the playoffs again until 2008, so this is now in the Ovechkin era. They lose in the first round against Philadelphia. That was in 7. 2009, they lose in the second round against Pittsburgh. That was in 7. 2010, they lose in the first round against Montreal. That was in, 7. So game 7s were not their friend. 2011, they lost in 4 straight against Tampa Bay in the second round. So they got swept that year. Not worried about game 7. 2012, they lost in the second round against the Rangers. That was in 7. 2013, they lost in the first round against the Rangers. That was in, 7. 2015, they lost in the second round against the Rangers. That was in 7. See, they don't like game 7s. 2016 against Pittsburgh in the second round, they lost in 6. 2017 in the second round, they lost against Pittsburgh in 7. 2018, they beat Pittsburgh because they avoided game 7. They won it in 6. And then they won the Stanley Cup as a way of celebrating. So whenever I hear Pittsburgh fans say, hey, anytime they've won the Cup, they've knocked out Washington in the playoffs, they've knocked out Washington a lot in the playoffs. So mild praise there. 2019, they've lost in the first round against Carolina. That was in, 7, yeah. 2020, they lost in the first round against the Islanders in 5, so they were quick to get it done then. There was a lot of complaints in 2022 that they weren't, in 2020 as well, I should say, that they weren't taking it very seriously. The bubble playoffs, they just treated it like whatever, and they were gone. 2021 against the Bruins in the first round, they lost in 5. 2022, they lost in the first round against Florida, and they lost that one in 6. So since they won the Stanley Cup, they've been eliminated in the first round 4 straight times. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times since 2000. The Capitals have been eliminated in the first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 times they've been eliminated in the second round. So it's a good thing they have that Stanley Cup. In the event that Pittsburgh had won that series, this video would be completely different. Instead of this Cup year being 2018, there would be a lot of people piling on and saying Ovechkin wasn't built for the playoffs and this team wasn't built for the playoffs. And I do wonder, too, if they didn't win that 2018 Stanley Cup, how would decisions about players have been made from then until now? There might have been a completely different look to this team going into next year without that 2018 Cup win. That definitely feels like changed things. Their arenas, Capital One Arena, they've been there since 1998. Now, their coaching history is an interesting one, too. They've got 19 coaches in the history of the team, but 3 of them were during that first year. Starting with Red Sullivan, who went 2-16-0. The Washington Capitals' first season, I've done a video on the Truly Awful Seasons playlist on their season. That was a complete disaster. And 3 different coaches, nothing worked. It was just awful. They won 1 road game all year. Peter Laviolette's their most recent coach. He has a record of 80, 41, and 17 behind the Capitals bench. Pretty good record for him, and so for the Caps. Definitely better days now than they were in the beginning, but again, they need some playoff success, and they need it soon. The first goal in the history of the Washington Capitals was scored by Jim Hrichik at 5:06 of the first period in a 6-3 loss against the New York Rangers to start a season where there was going to be a lot of losing. Hrichik only scored 5 goals in his NHL career, and it was all during that season over a 24-game span. So he did not appear in the NHL after that season or before. The most recent goal scored by the Washington Capitals was scored on the power play by TJ Oshie at 18:57 of the third to tie the game against Florida before they lost 4-3 in overtime. So it was close, and if they'd forced a Game 7, they might have knocked the Panthers out. But there's a lot of, what ifs with all the Game 7s they've lost as well, right? So forcing a Game 7 doesn't necessarily mean success if you're the Caps. All-time penalty minutes leader is, of course, Dale Hunter. 2,003 penalty minutes for Dale Hunter. Just fantastically high penalty minute numbers for Dale Hunter throughout his career. Season records for goals, of course, it's Ovechkin with 65 in 07-08. He was on an interesting pace to start this season. It looked like he might threaten that total, or at least 60. He didn't get there. Assist leader is Dennis Maruk, 76 in 81-82. Also a season where he had 136 points to set a team record. I'm going to go out on a limb and say those records are pretty darn safe. Even with scoring being up in the NHL, I don't think there's a Capital right now who's going to get 136 points in a season. Penalty minutes in a season, Alan May had 339 and 89-90. So, yeah, you get that. And then wins, Holtby had 48 in 2015-2016. It's remarkable because that's only 6 years ago. And for a goaltender, doesn't feel like it should make that much of a difference. But from 48 wins to now, it looks like he's sitting out this season due to injury. And that's after years Dallas's backup, where he missed a lot of time as an injury. And that's after years Vancouver's backup, which was not a fantastic experience for him. And and that was after an unceremonious end to his time in Washington. So again, make a great career video. Best draft picks, Andrew Burnett was drafted 174th overall in 1993. Pretty good draft pick there. 156th overall in 1990 was Peter Bondra. He went on to have a pretty good career. 152nd in 1981 was Gaetan Duchesne, who played over 1,000 games in his career. Number 177 in 1990 was Ken Klee, who played over 900 games on the blue line. Number 120 in 1988 was Dmitry Kristich. Not necessarily a huge surprise that Kristich would be a steal there, as scouting overseas wasn't quite where it is now. Number 249 in 1994 was Richard Zednik. So 249th, getting a guy who plays any games at all is something. Number 93 in 2008 was Braden Holtby. Number 112 in 2010 was Philip Grubauer. So they get both of their goaltenders with first a third round pick and then a fourth round pick. So not too shabby. First round picks that have played less than 100 games. Now, this doesn't include busts. Like, this isn't just about busts, right? This is about just guys who didn't play 100 games. Number 18 in 1975 was Alex Forsyth. He played one game in the NHL. Number 18 in 1978 was Tim Koulis. He played 47 games in the NHL. Number 19 in 1886. Back in 1886, the Capital. 1986. Jeff Greenlaw, 57 games played. Stupid hockey guy, can't get the century right. Number 15 in 1988, Reggie Savage. Played 34 games in the NHL. He was highly thought of, too, before he came up. I was surprised he didn't play more. Number 21 in 1991, Trevor Halverson. Played 17 games in the NHL. Number 15 in 1994, Alexander Kharlamov. Didn't end up coming over and playing in the NHL. Kind of a shame there. Number 23 in 1995, Mika Elomo, a player who played 2 games in the National Hockey League. Number 17 in 1995 was Brad Church, who played 2 games in the NHL. Then in 1996, huge expectations for Alexander Volchkov, but he ended up going 4th that year, which was a bit of a red flag, and he only played 3 National Hockey League games. And again, he was a guy who was highly thought of going into his draft year and just ended up going 4th, and then it just didn't work. And so as great as Ovechkin's been, Volchkov, about a decade before, was expected to be at least a pretty darn good player. Didn't happen. Then in 2005, drafted 27th overall, Joe Finley, plays 21 games. Number 14 in 2005 was Sasha Pokulik. Didn't play a game in the NHL. Number 21 in 2008, Anton Gustafsson, who was, I believe, the son of Bent Gustafsson over here. He played 0 games in the NHL. Doesn't always work to draft the kid of a player who played for you. So there you go. The Washington Capitals, pretty long history they've had now. Still the one Stanley Cup. We'll see whether or not they get closer to or further away from their second Stanley Cup this coming year. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are the Capitals still contenders, or do 4 straight first-round knockouts tell you it's not going to happen? And again, it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility they could get right back and they could end up winning another. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.